everybody, my name is Jana Imis, this is my channel. I will talk about IELTS today. My finger is on the button. Push the button. Today we will cover the topic which is very interesting. It is IELTS. How to pass IELTS with at least 7 points. I did that, you can do that, everybody can do that. It's just a matter of persistence, practice, daily, weekly, brain practice. I took it in 2008 for fun and I passed it from the first attempt with 7 points, and I wish you the same. So let me tell you how to pass IELTS very well. I am focusing on education in Germany and I'm helping out students to get admission in bachelor, master, MBA programs. Today I will talk about how to pass IELTS test. Not just to pass IELTS with 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, but to pass it with 7 points. It's possible, it's just a matter of practice. IELTS is the most popular English test created for the non-English speakers who are willing to either take the work abroad or to join an international company, or the students who would like to study in an international institution or to study in the English language. It's a standardized test which tests your reading, your writing, your listening and your speaking skills. Most of the time the test is held on one day, but sometimes they will ask you to come before and pass the conversation with the native speaker beforehand, or write the opposite after. In my case, I passed it in Russia and I had it held in one day, a lot of stress. And from the first attempt, I scored 7. In this test, you have the grades from 0 to 9. So with 9 being native speaker more or less, 8 being extremely fluent, and 7 will be the official graduate level English language knowledge joining points. And if you score 6, you already can qualify for very good bachelor programs. If you score 7, you qualify yourself for very good master programs. 5.5 or 6.5 is like the breach points, where it's unsure if university will let you in the program or not. It all depends on the university selection. More than 3 million people take IELTS in 140 countries per year, so you're not one of the few, you're one of the many. So many people do that, so why can't you do that? You don't have to be afraid of IELTS. There's a lot of myths going on. It's probably from the people who failed. It's not a difficult test. It just requires you to read attentively the tasks and to know the structure of the test. There can be people who speak English very well who don't score well on IELTS because they didn't know the structure and the time frame for the test. But then there are people who are not very good in English, but they learn the basics of the test and what is required from them, and they score really well. It's just a combination of the both. Your English language knowledge and the structure of the test knowledge. You can take IELTS up to 48 times a year. There's a lot of testing locations, and if you fail once or you don't like your result once, you can apply and you can go again to pass it. So it's not like it's a critical point where if you don't pass it once, it's over. IELTS consists of few points: listening, reading, writing and speaking. So it's approximately 2.5–3 hours of your time dedicated to it, but you have to practice beforehand. You have to practice the sample test. There's so many available online. You don't really have to buy materials. You can download free materials and study on your own. What I did is I attended twice a week IELTS course in my university in Russia, and in 2 months I passed it easily. I'm not only going to talk about how to pass the test, because everybody can pass it. I want you to pass it really well, and I want you to not put half a year of your life to study for the test. I want you to pass it with some hints and some tips. So I prepared the list of tips and tricks which I personally use and what people on the forums advise. They will definitely help you to be better at the test. I will talk about how the test is split and what you should expect now about each module of the test, so you know what is expected from you. IELTS listening part. For me it was the most difficult part, because even though I'm used to playing computer games with the Americans and whatnot, for me it was difficult because in the listening part, you have to listen to the audio recordings of people coming from different backgrounds and countries. So you can hear Canadian, you can hear New Zealand, you can hear Australia, America. You're not used to this speech, especially if you're learning English from the books and you barely listen to native speakers. So for this point, definitely I advise you to practice listening to the native speakers, either TV shows or, I don't know, audio recordings or podcasts. This is really required. Just for you to train your ear, to get used to the native speakers talk. And the worst point is that when normally in the school we were listening to audio recordings in our English lessons, they always repeated them twice or 3 times. In IELTS test, they only put it once. So if you miss it, So what I advise you to do is keep the paper next to you, put down the key points you hear. They might help you when you're putting the results to the answer sheet. I also advise you to sit close to the audio if you can, because experience shows the last rows don't hear anything. Generally, there are 4 different recordings. There is a monologue, there is a dialogue, there also is a conversation between 2 people in educational scenario most of the time, and there's normally a conversation between 2 people in the everyday scenario, so something that you are expected to understand. Basically, the test is not only for you to study abroad and for them to understand that you is that can you live abroad with your English language knowledge? If you don't understand the conversations from your neighbors when you live abroad, this is painful. I mean, if you don't get it, it's gonna be a really gruesome experience for you abroad. What you have to pay attention to, that this is the English language test. So you have to pay attention the way you write the answers. If the answer is correct, but the spelling of the word is wrong, then you are wrong. So this you have to be really attentive to. So when you're practicing IELTS at home, make sure that your spelling is 100% correct. At the end of these tasks, you have time to transfer your points to the answer sheet. You have a separate time for it. So make sure that your notes are clear, and then you can just at the end transfer them to the answer sheet instead of actually thinking, oh my god, where I have to put what. So the listening part has 40 questions. If you get 30 correct, you score 7 IELTS in that part. IELTS consists of 4 parts, so at the end you can have, let's say, 8 for listening, but 6 for reading and writing, so your overall score will go down. So you have to score equally well on each to achieve your dream result. So in the listening part, out of 40 points, 30 are required for 7 and 32 points correct are required for 7.5. IELTS reading part. Here it's tricky if you're not used to read a lot, if you're not used to read on the indicated time frame, because you are given a lot of different texts. They're long, they're short, you have to find logical reasoning, you have to find answers, you have to analyze something, but it's really limited time. What I thought is not enough. So the only thing what you can do is you can read newspapers and you can practice, and you have to set yourself a timer, because I literally finished my IELTS at exactly when the time was over, so that is pretty tough. Practice, practice, practice. Reading is the weakest point of the majority of students who take IELTS, not because they don't read, yeah, they also don't read much these days, but also because they are not used to reading on a timer. Normally reading consists of a few sections, one really long text, academic text, 2 texts which have also academic background, maybe the news and whatnot, and then there are a few small texts about the everyday scenarios. There will be different abstracts from the text, from the books, from the newspapers, from magazines. The maximum what you can do is to read a lot before you take the text. This way you train your brain to concentrate on reading and finding out logics and whatnot. So what you have to do is when you're reading, make sure to underline for yourself the most important points, the logic of the author, the thinking of the author, because this will be the key points that the questions are asked. There are a total 40 questions. You can also get the multiple choice there. Out of 40 questions, to score 7 IELTS, you have to have 30 questions correct. If you're aiming higher, 7.5 IELTS, you are required to have 33 out of 40 correct. IELTS writing part. here you are required to write two different texts. One is analytical, or you have to analyze a graph, or I have to write directions from a map. And the second part is you have to write an essay on a certain topic where you have to present your vocabulary really well. Contrast, opinion, argument, you have to analyze, you have to give different synonyms, you have to describe, point out the view. So that's where you have to learn the connecting words, in my opinion. I personally believe, I don't know, I mean anything you prefer. When I was practicing for IELTS, I had to describe a map. So I was given a map and I had to describe how to get to a certain point, not using the same phrases, more or less. Then the second time I had to analyze the table which had statistics about the water consumption in London for the last month, and I had to analyze that, like give, I don't know, points. Well, basically that's cool because you train yourself to be able to analyze the tables in the future in your studies. So yeah, I mean, it all is actually useful. You will probably think, oh my god, I will never use that. You will. To be able to score well, you have to present your opinion really well, you have to use synonyms, you have to use your rich vocabulary, connecting words, and of course, no mistakes in spelling, no mistakes in grammar, no bullet points, open sentences, not less and not more than the amount of words required. Practice makes perfect. Last but not least, IELTS speaking. You will talk with a native speaker. You have to present yourself in an interview and he will ask you different questions from different sections, maybe about a hobby. What we were trained for during the IELTS preparation courses is if they ask you a topic you don't know about, don't lie, because they will keep on pushing it and you won't be able to answer. This is bad. The best is to say you don't know or that you would prefer to talk about a different topic. As an example, I was asked, do you read news? And I said, well, not really. Okay, do you read books? Yes. What kind of books? So then you start talking, because if you don't do something, don't lie, just tell them I don't. And then change the topic. Because it's understandable, you can't be like fully diverse. You can. It's all you can. IELTS result comes in 2 weeks normally, and the validity is for 2 years. It means that within 2 years you have to use it. The expired IELTS normally people do not accept, the universities do not accept. The thing is that I was always questioning why 2 years, like come on, I'm not gonna forget the language. No, I will. Actually, I met the people who took IELTS and then their certificate expired and they didn't speak English 3 years after. This was horrible. So basically they just learned to pass it and then they forgot about it. So yeah, I understand why the validity is there. So make sure within these 2 years to apply the university of your dream, and good luck with everything. You can already apply to the schools before your IELTS is ready, or even before you took the test, because you will understand how you feel about it. If you need any more help, please let me know and contact me anytime. And if you have your IELTS ready and you are looking to study in Germany, let me know. I'll help you with admission to the schools.